number 12 choice on my top 12 favorite episodes of the Clone Wars. And for number 12, I decided to start off with Rookies. And if you don't remember what Rookies is, I'm just going to quickly sum up what is, again, quick plot synopsis in case you haven't seen the episode or you just plain forget what it is. Rookies is the episode. It's about these clones who are rookies. They are, hence the title. And they've just been... we're on one of their first assignments. They're just fresh out of the Clone Academy on Kamino, and they've been assigned to this very simple task of just guarding this communication station on a moon. And basically the communication station's job is to make sure that no separatists fly past them and get to the planet Kamino. And the clones, and guess what happens? Some separatists land on the planet and overtake the clones' base. And now it's up to this clones known as Domino Squad. And they essentially now have to recover their base. And thankfully they have some help in the form of Rex and I think Commander Cody's with them. They were showing up to inspect the base, and good thing they got there in time because these rookies really don't know what to do. So Rex has to sort of show them the ropes. And it was a fun episode. Again, I would go back and rewatch it just so I could have more to say about it, but I'm busy. But thankfully I did take notes when I initially watched it. So anyway, so why is this episode on here? Why am I picking this one little episode from season one? Out of all the clone-focused episodes, why am I choosing this one? And honestly, I was considering putting more on here, but again, I can only pick 12. I can only pick one per arc, and there's some amazing arcs later on. But most importantly, I wanted to put this one on here because this was the first good episode, really good episode of the show. This is the first episode everyone generally liked. Clone Wars started off rocky. We had this really dumb pilot, which just made it look like a dumb, goofy kids show. We had the Yoda arc, which, yeah, I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't an amazing thing. It was fun, but nothing spectacular. There was the Malevolence trilogy, which dumb Star Wars. This was the first time the Clone Wars was really starting to show that it could actually be something. And there's a bunch of ways it did that. One thing was through these clones. Dave Filoni spoke in interviews how he wanted you to feel for these clones. He was going to give them unique personalities, and it really comes through in this episode. We have all these clones, and they all have different names and personalities, and again, I need to go back and rewatch the episode, but I watched a bit of it, but I digress. So, I rewatched a bit of it, but I digress. And I remember the clones, they each sort of had their own personality. One's the leader, one's very technical, one's more about weapons and stuff. And again, they're given names, so by doing this, you're sort of humanizing them and making them believable characters. It's sort of like we're watching a show about soldiers as opposed to of fleshed out soldiers. It's just giving these soldiers personality just makes the war feel that much more alive as opposed to just disposable clones fighting disposable droids. And it also kind of created a fun scenario for the clones. I mean, it was very interesting just seeing these rookies just sort of come up with a plan and figure out a way to beat these droids. I mean, there was some amusing stuff, with them one of the clones pretends to be a robot disguised as a clone, and is Raja, Raja. And speaking of droids, this episode also introduced some new battle droids. One issue that, again, I haven't watched the prequels in a while, but if I remember, the battle droids were really goofy in comparison to the stormtroopers. And this episode introduced to us what the battle droids should have been. They gave us these awesome battle droids, which were dangerous, they were threatening, they were menacing. Basically everything the battle droids in the prequels are not. And it was the show starting to get dark. We have these menacing enemies we have a clone die in this episode, which Yeah, Clone Wars isn't going to shy away from death. Kind of showing how there are sacrifices in war. Now, there was like one other episode in season 1 that was also a clone-focused episode. And I was honestly considering doing that one too, and that was The Hidden Enemy. This was the prequel to the Clone Wars movie. It's when they're on the planet Christophilus, and there's a traitor clone. They have to find him. That was a really good episode too, and I considered putting that one on there as well because, again, in addition to being a really good episode, it also sets up the idea of there being good people who just disagree with the clones, and which comes into not the clones, the Republic. And I was considering putting that one on there, but again, I decided with Rookies for two reasons. One, this was the first really good episode of the show. And, I figure, like, in a show that wasn't having that many bright spots, the fact that it had something good, it essentially, when you're watching a season, there's always that one episode that's good, that one bright spot that makes you keep watching that says, I want more stuff like this. If the show gives me more stuff of this quality or better, this show could potentially be something. And for Clone Wars, Rookies was this episode. It's the first time I'm just like, this show could be something. And it did eventually evolve there. And on that subject, I really hope Rebels, the first season of Star Wars Rebels, has that bright spot. And another reason why I put this one on here is because this basically laid the foundation for Domino Squad. This squad, it's not just a one-off thing. Like, I'm not sure if Filoni realized this or not. I mean, they might have been writing season 3 when this arc aired, but whether the arc became popular, the writers just liked it, for whatever reason, this squad is reoccurring characters. Anytime we have a clone-focused arc from here on, starting season 3, one or all Domino Squad is in here. I mean, we have an episode that shows these guys back when they were rookies. We have an episode of them as ARC Troop, when they become ARC Troopers. There's the Umbara arc. All these arcs. And while those arcs are really good just from a writing standpoint, I think what makes them even more engaging is the fact that they're following clones that we've grown to know and care about. So when you're watching, like, the Order 66 arc of Season 6, or the Umbara arc, it's not just, oh, we're following random clones. No, we're following Fives, Tup, Echo, like clones we know about. Like, and I think it makes it that much more engaging when you have reoccurring clones than just random clones. And this arc really planted the seeds for that. And it is also kind of tragic because everyone from Domino Squad unfortunately dies. They don't make it out. With the exception, and you can stop watching right here if you want. I'm done talking about the episode. There's just something I want to touch on real quick that Clone Wars fans may or may not know about, which is that Dave Filoni, he did confirm in an interview he released like a bunch of concept art for not concept art, sketches he drew during a meeting for Season 7. And during that, he revealed that Echo is alive, and I was talking on Twitter to Brent Freeman, who thankfully is very open about the Clone Wars, at least this one arc he wrote. And the one arc he wrote was about how Rex was going to lead this unorthodox experimental group of clones called Bad Batch. And during the arc, they were going to discover that Echo is alive, and there was going to be some sort of part of the focus of the arc was going to be the relationship between Rex and Echo. And I'm so bummed the Clone Wars is canceled, because I would have loved to have seen that arc. Because, like, as Rookies proved, like, anytime we focus on the clones, do an arc with them, it's generally really good, and I have no doubt that arc would be an exception. And this episode showed what one of the strong points of the Clone Wars was going to be, was that anytime they focused on the clones. And that's pretty much all I have to say on the Rookies episode. It was the first great episode of the Clone Wars. It gave us the clones, Domino Squad, and overall really solid episode. So please join me next time I talk about the number 11 my number 11 choice, which is probably the only lighthearted episode I have on this list. So please take your guesses as to what episode it is. But until then, please... Actually, what am I going to say? I'm blanking out. Anyway. Until next time, may the Force be with you.